They used to think I was just a weak little girl, born to be trampled on. Every day, I lived as a joke for the whole school. The bullies stripped away every shred of my dignity, turning me into a punching bag for their laughter. I endured for far too long, to the point where I even believed I was a failure. But no one knew. I was hiding a secret. A secret powerful enough to silence them all in just seconds. That day, in the middle of the schoolyard, I was no longer the victim. I became the nightmare they never saw coming. The whole crowd went silent, and that very moment changed my life forever. You won't believe what happened next. Hit subscribe to hear the rest of this story. I wasn't born weak. But somehow, the whole world believed I was the easiest target in school. On the very first day I stepped into class, I knew my fate would never be peaceful. Can you believe it? Just because I wore a t-shirt with a torn shoulder, the entire class burst out laughing as if I was a clown put there for their entertainment. From that moment on, I officially became the target of every scornful stare. They called me every cruel name you can imagine. Sometimes they even poured soda over my head right in the cafeteria, in front of hundreds of students watching. What do you think I did then? I stayed silent, lowered my head, and swallowed every tear, as if it were the only lunch I had. The days after only got worse. One time they threw all my books out onto the field, forcing me to crawl and pick up every single page. I can still hear the sound of their mocking laughter echoing across the schoolyard. It haunted me in every single dream. Have you ever been looked down on so much that you just wanted to disappear from this world? But then, in the darkness, I began to realize a terrifying truth. No one was going to save me. No teacher would step in to protect me. No friend dared to speak up. I had only one choice left, to turn myself into someone strong. Do you believe a weak person can suddenly become a warrior? Every night, I trained in secret. When others were asleep, I punched my pillow until the fabric tore apart. When others laughed and played, I ran until my legs trembled. And when others looked down on me, I just smiled inside, because I knew the day of reckoning was getting closer. Can you guess what that moment turned out to be? Don't look away, because the next part is the moment that changed my life forever. That day came faster than I ever imagined. On a scorching morning, just as the school bell stopped ringing, the bullies appeared right in front of me. They looked at each other, smirked, then suddenly grabbed me by the collar and dragged me straight into the middle of the schoolyard. Can you even imagine the feeling of hundreds of eyes piercing into you, curious, mocking, and cruel, like knives slicing into your skin? I heard their voices shouting, "Hey, everyone, come watch the show. The weak little girl is about to cry again." The whole yard buzzed like they were about to watch a free comedy act. What do you think I felt then, fear or fury? They shoved me down onto the burning hot pavement, deliberately scraping my knees. Laughter erupted again, louder, sharper, more vicious. Another one poured an entire bottle of ice-cold water over my head, leaving my hair tangled, dripping wet. Have you ever been humiliated so badly that you wished you could vanish instantly? But what they didn't know was that I had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. I stared straight into the eyes of the crowd. And in that gaze, I was no longer a victim. I was a fire burning out of control. Can you believe that in just a few seconds, everything was about to turn upside down? I slowly rose to my feet. The laughter began to die down, replaced by uneasy whispers. The bullies froze, shocked that I was still standing as if nothing had touched me. Tell me, who do you think was really trembling at that moment? The next moment was the turning point. The moment I transformed from prey into the predator. And once I began, nothing could stop me. Are you sure you're ready to witness the most terrifying reversal of my life? If you want to know what left the entire schoolyard in stunned silence, hit subscribe right now. And then, it happened. The moment when the entire schoolyard expected to hear me cry, what they heard instead was a thunderous bam. I didn't fall to my knees. I spun around and threw my very first punch straight into the face of the one yanking my hair. Can you believe it? He collapsed to the ground in an instant. The crowd froze. The schoolyard that just seconds ago was roaring with noise suddenly went dead silent. You could almost hear my heartbeat pounding in the air. The second bully rushed at me, thinking I had only gotten lucky. But what he didn't know was that for months I had drilled every strike, every move, as if I were preparing for the end of the world. Have you ever seen a lamb transform into a wolf right before your eyes? I locked my cold eyes on him, then dropped him with a spinning kick. Phone slipped from hands and clattered to the ground. People were too shocked to even hit record, their jaws hanging open instead. The entire crowd held its breath, waiting to see if I could actually take on the whole group. Do you think I stopped there? No. I had waited far too long for this day. When the ringleader charged at me, I didn't back away. I stepped toward him. And in his eyes, for the very first time, I saw fear. Can you guess what happened next? The moment I landed my final counterattack, the entire schoolyard exploded. Not with cheers for the bullies, but with screams of excitement for me. Can you believe it? The very same people who once stood by laughing at my pain were now shouting my name in support. What I didn't expect was that dozens of phones had managed to capture everything. Within minutes, the video was being shared at lightning speed. Every time I dropped another bully, a chorus of "wow" echoed through Bluetooth speakers and lit up phone screens across the school. Can you imagine the so-called victim becoming an online sensation in just seconds? Suddenly, the bullies weren't in charge anymore. They trembled, huddled together, while the crowd chanted, "Get up. Show them more." For the very first time, the balance of power flipped completely. The same ones who once made me cry silently in the corner were now the ones crying in front of hundreds of witnesses. Do you believe justice can sometimes strike faster than thunder? That very night, the clip spread beyond the school walls. It went viral across social media, popping up in community groups everywhere. People gave me a new name, the Schoolyard Warrior. And the bullies? They became the laughingstock, not just in school, but all over the internet. Do you think they could ever show their faces again after a shock like that? That day came to an end, but its echo remained. I walked out of the schoolyard, not in silence, but to the roar of cheers as if I had just become a champion. Can you believe it? Just a few hours earlier, my name was tied to humiliation, and now I was being celebrated like a living legend. From that day on, everything changed completely. No one dared to throw scornful looks at me anymore. Instead, they avoided me, they feared me, and some even respected me. What do you think that felt like? To go from a weak victim to a symbol whispered about by the entire school. But I didn't stop there. I knew well that one punch wasn't enough to earn the world's respect forever. I kept training, kept sharpening myself, not just to fight my enemies, but to make sure I never returned to the shadow of who I used to be. Have you ever asked yourself if the greatest strength doesn't lie in muscle, but in the will to never collapse? I learned that justice doesn't always come from others. Sometimes, you are your own justice. Don't wait for someone else to protect you. Don't hope for a miracle to change your life. You are the one who writes your own destiny. Do you have the courage to rise when everyone else wants to see you fall? Now, every time I walk past the schoolyard, I no longer bow my head. I hold it high, because I know I shifted the balance of power with my own two hands. And the greatest lesson I want to give you is this: true strength doesn't lie in how many times you fall, but in whether you dare to stand up one more time. Do you want to hear more stories just as thrilling, dramatic, and full of twists as this one? Hit subscribe right now, because what you're about to hear next might shock you even more.